Gabby Thunderbolt, built and done. Find out more right here on Gary's Stuff. Hello there, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel and welcome back if you've been here before. Today is build day on the kit of the week, and that kit is the P-47 Thunderbolt as flown by Gabby in 1/48 scale from Academy. Now, if you are thinking about getting one of these and you want to know what's in the box, there's already a box opening video on the channel. There's also another video about the history of the P-47 and a look at some of the other kits that might be available to you. If you've got one, you want to know how to put it together, this is very much the video for you. If you enjoy any of the things you see on my channel, please do give them the Imperial thumbs up on the like button below. And if you haven't done so yet, please do subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, and you'll be notified of all my future videos as they turn up. And of course, if you want to give a bit more concrete support, you can do that through Super Thanks, by becoming a channel member, or through any of my online partner programs, or as Harry Grant did, send me a kit maybe. This one is for you, Harry. Thank you so much. Okay then, let's make a start and look at how we're going to build this P-47D in 1/48 scale from Academy. Now I'm going to do a bit of dry brushing on this cockpit, just the instrument panel at first. Now I use a very thick white paint, so a high density white acrylic, like game colour or something like that, and I use a very feathery brush. This is an old Humbrol number 2 that's obviously seen better days and sort of fanned out. Becomes quite a nice sort of dry brushing brush. Now what you can do to test how much paint is on here is to dry brush the number on the frame. And it gets to a point where it really is leaving very little, and that's the time to start. If it leaves a lot of paint, then you've got too much on your brush. You can always build up more. Remember, you can always add more. If you make a mistake, of course, you can actually just paint it over white again, or black. Now you can see after 3 or 4 minutes, then all these instruments are really standing out really very cleanly. Now you can, if you want, just dot over some of these lines, some of these instrument lines here, like the actual indicators. You can dot over those with a tiny bit of white just to bring them up a bit, but yeah, I don't know if you necessarily have to. What you can then do is dot in some colour as well, just a few bits and pieces of colour here and there. If you've got some colour reference that shows you what the instrument panel looks like, that's even better, obviously. But generally speaking, just a few dots of red or yellow here and there to lift the whole thing, and it's done. That will be your instrument panel done. Right, now we've painted the parts of the cockpit. Just going to start assembling some bits and pieces now. So we're going to start with these mountings for the chair support. Go in here. Just put a little dab of glue in there to hold them in place. I'm going to start assembling the cockpit tub here. First of all, the rear panel goes in. You'll notice I've also done some fairly heavy washing on the floors and anywhere there was a bit of detail. It's heavy because you need higher contrast because it's inside the cockpit. The walls click into the side like so, so they click in, they sort of sit against the bottom with tabs and then click into the rear panel like this. You'll see I've already gone ahead and highlighted some equipment boxes and whatever in black, and then done some dry brushing. Again, quite heavy dry brushing, because you need that contrast for it to be visible. When it's inside the cabin and in shadow and difficult to see, you really need that contrast to pop out. I've added a few coloured spots as well. Next, I'm going to put in the seat support. This is a bit of a tricky devil to get into these slots at the bottom. To be fair, probably would have done better to put this on before the two side panels, but there we go. Anyway, get it in place, put some glue on, and make sure it's straightened up. Then we pop the pilot seat in onto the frame. You can see it sits up here against this. The back of the frame sits just below the cross member there. Make sure it's nice and central, and then make sure it's sat properly, and you can dab some glue to hold it in place. Then the control column can go on. There's a hole on the floor that makes sure you get it the right way round. Then finally, the instrument panel and rudder bar assembly can go into the holes in the floor at the front. And that is the cabin pretty much complete. So there we go. I'm actually really happy with this. It's all worked out pretty much to plan, I have to say. A few extra details on the instrument panel, highlighted a couple of gauges with yellow. You can see in there a few red switches and whatever. Bits and pieces of dry brushing in here, just to bring up some detail, tiny little spots of colour. But you know what, I'm really happy with this, really happy. And already we can put in the cockpit into the side of the fuselage, and it sits on, goes on the back, this back here. So now we can close up the cockpit. It's quite quick to actually get something looking like a Thunderbolt on this kit, because once the cockpit's done like that, then pretty much everything else is sorted out. But there we go. So we'll just tape this up, make sure these are all level, and then run some glue around them. The other thing we have to do on each wing is drill out the holes if we want the stores. Now these holes here are for the pylon, which will have various bombs, the 250, 500 pound bombs, whatever. The one in here is specifically for the rocket, the is it 4-inch, 4.5-inch? No, those long tube rockets look like a bazooka thing. Before they got around to putting HVAR rockets on, they used 4.5-inch rockets. There you go. So there it is. Yeah. So this is for the 4.5-inch rockets. This is for the outer pylon, which is any of the bombs. So we need to drill that out. Now it usefully doesn't tell us in the instructions what size holes these are. So a little tip if that happens to you: get your drill bit, put the back end of it, not the sharp end, the back end of it into the hole, and see if it moves around. Not quite a snug fit, that's not quite right, so it's not 0.8. I've got a feeling it's a 1mm hole, but I'm not going to swear to it. That fits in nice and snugly, which is 1mm. It's just like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The 1.2 won't fit in, so 1mm seems to be the size of the hole. It works on pretty much any model doing that. So if you haven't got a size of drill listed on the instruction sheet, use the shank, the mounting and not the sharp end. Remember this end, and just see if it fits in. If it fits in snugly, that's the size drill you need. And once you've drilled the holes, then you can put the machine guns in. You only do this obviously if you're having the machine gun covers, the gun bait open. There's a couple of pegs on this breech up here that connect, and then the rest just sit in place. Then you can fit the two halves of the wing together, like so. Tape it up and extra thin all around the joints, and leave them to dry. While we're waiting for the wing to set fully, we can put in the mountings to the gun barrels here. Now, the instructions say we should put the gun barrels in now. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to be painting this, and I don't want to be knocking the gun barrels when I'm painting, and they can just slip in later on. Another thing to do whilst the wings are setting is to do the tail planes. It's come complete with the elevators, just in two halves each. Tape them up, glue them up, and they'll be ready. Now, I'm going to keep these off the plane for painting. I find it a lot easier to mask off the bottom. Or maybe I won't, I'll see. The other thing I'm going to do is build the engine. This is quite simple. The propeller shaft goes through here. Now this you don't glue if you want the propeller to turn. I'm not bothered about it. I'll probably glue it up later on. Anyway, the front, that goes through the front bank of cylinders. Rear bank of cylinders is two little pegs that line them up. And that's it. And when the two halves are glued together, you can still turn the little propeller shaft if you like. The main wings just slip on with a couple of tabs and then line up like so, and then we can glue them into place. The fit's actually not too bad on the top. On the bottom it's not so good, but we'll deal with that later. And while I'm waiting, I'll also do the engine cover at the front. There's this splitter goes in at the bottom. There's a little tab here. Glue that in. Then the other half just goes over like so. The engine just goes on the front of the bulkhead like this. Now what I've done with the engine is I've painted it in burnt metal and then given it some wash with something called aircraft engine wash. It's certainly from AK. So it looks like a used engine. And then the cowling can go over the top, like so. The tailplanes just slot into the body of the aircraft up here, like so. I'm going to put the flaps for, I guess it's the cooling system, radiator system on. I'm going to have them closed. If you want them open, it's the same part, but you just have it the other way around. And they sit open like that. But I'm going to have them closed like that. Okay, that's us pretty much ready for paint then. So obviously I'll put these cover pieces back on to blank them off also, because the top surfaces need to be painted off. The blanking piece, they can sit on the wings. The cockpit will get covered in, and obviously I'll tape up this seat back so it doesn't get painted. Nice wad of paper in here to protect the engine. The undercarriage pieces here, I'll probably put some putty into there to fill those up. I'll leave the shackles here off. I'll do those when the aircraft's painted. This goes on when the aircraft's painted as well. This is where the tail wheel goes. It's a single piece of assembly with the doors open, so that will just slot in there. I'll just make sure the doors are painted the relevant colour. Likewise, there should be bomb pylons here because this is going to be done with the invasion stripes, the bomb pylons will just be silver bomb pylons. So I'll do the stripes first, then I'll do those separately in silver. Likewise, the rockets that sit here will be separate. Those will go on later on. Just need to cover up this window as well. And then it's ready to go. Now, the book says this was ocean grey with dark green, local RAF colours. But the book says, the instruction book says, that this was still bare metal. I have seen some references suggesting they may have painted the underside in aircraft grey, light aircraft grey as well. But I kind of like the idea of the metal, so I'm going to do the bare metal undersides. Normally, I would paint the white of the invasion stripes first, and get that bonded on, then mask it off, and then faff around with the rest of the plane. But I want to do some chipping along here. So what I'm going to do is black varnish on the underside and on these leading edges and around the front of here. Then actually maybe over the tops here as well, I'll see. Then silver on top, aluminium on top. Let that settle on. Then put some chipping medium on, let that settle, and then do the rest of the paint job. So there's going to be a red band around here. There's going to be the black and white invasion stripes, ocean grey base, and then airbrush over some dark green patterning and bare metal on the underside. That sounds like a good plan. That's the one I'm going with, so I hope it is. Let's see how we get on. So I've painted the bottom of this in gloss black, and now I'm going to put on the top coat, which is the aluminium. And this is a really thin paint, so it goes on really quickly. Okay, the plane's looking pretty good. So I am going to spray some chipping solution on the front here and on the wing leading edges. And I'm going to leave that to dry overnight. Let everything cure up properly. And then I'll start painting tomorrow. Right, so this is where the paint job started to go really quite wrong. So what happened was I'd done the metal underside like that. I had taped it up to do the grey on top. And when I started taking the tape off, a lot of this silver paint or aluminium paint came with it. A big patch on the wing here, and some patches here at the base of the wing root, back end of the wing root here, trailing edge. The paint was coming off like it, like latex. What do you call this stuff? That latex paint you put over canopies, it sets dry. Masking fluid. When masking fluid's dried and you want to take it off, the way it has that sort of peel off it, well, that kind of was what's going on here. Now, I don't know whether I hadn't let the primer cure long enough, because it's a mixture of polyurethane and acrylic, and I'm not really familiar with that yet, so maybe I didn't let it cure long enough. I'm pretty sure I left it overnight. Anyway, before putting the paint on. The paint normally dries in like minutes, and then within like 2 hours you can do what you like with it. But not on that occasion. So I suspect that the primer hadn't bonded to the plastic properly for one reason or another. So what I ended up doing, stripped the bottom completely again. I then re-primed the whole thing with my usual Genelite spray-on grey primer. Did the top surfaces. Well, first of all, I did the invasion stripes on the wings in white. Did the tail. in white and the nose in white. Painted those, masked them off. Actually, no, varnished them, then masked them off. The whites, I painted the white, varnished it, masked off the black, did those, varnished that, then masked off the whole thing, top and bottom. And then I could redo the ocean grey on top. And then I could make a start on the camouflage. And that's the point at which we rejoin the video. So I'm just going to use the airbrush to freehand some of the green markings in. Now what I can do is start the brush on this piece of paper I have here, masking off the invasion stripes, and that just makes sure there's no splatter from the airbrush when I first start. And then just, as I say, freehand in. With the paint left to dry and then another varnish top coat put on, I can start on the decals, give it a good wash down with a bit of decal set where the decal is going to go, and then just place it gently and then move it around very, very carefully to get the right position. And you do check with the instructions, they'll give you all the decal positions very accurately. Now, much as I like a lot about this kit, there is one thing I find really annoying, and that is that these markings come as dry transfers. Now, back in the day, we used to have something called Letraset before we had fancy printers that would print anything, any size. You had Letraset to do so, like dry transfer stuff, and you used to use a burnisher to put them down, which is what you have to do on this. It's an idea that really, really, really is rubbish. Just make the decals, guys. Just make the decals, because these are a proper pain in the backside. You have to line them up correctly to begin with, and then use something to rub them down with. And you can see them, and it's difficult to see here, I know, but you can actually see them when you're doing it. You can see the lettering separating from the base paper. But my goodness, it's a pain in the backside, this stuff. I really wish I just made this as a decal. Proper one, you know, and yet things like the whole of the rest of the kit has water slide decals. Why do these as Letraset? I just don't understand it. Anyway, hey ho, we'll see what we can do. So you rub them and it sort of transfers. You can rub them flat. Okay, yeah. I just really don't like them. The wheels come in two halves. I tend to sort of paint the interior and the edges on the sprue and then do the rest. Now, this one's got a flat spot. This isn't the wheel that they suggest for this kit. The one they suggest has got a flat cover over it, but this is the only style of wheel that's got a flat spot, and as mine's parked, I want it with a flat spot, so that's why I'm going for this wheel. So once we have the decals on, I'm going to just start doing some panel wash. Just put in some lines of this. I'm using black, well, very nearly black, it's very dark grey for most of the plane. For white invasion stripes, I'm going to use a medium grey, and there's like a stone grey for the black areas. So we just go over these lines and just let them fill the black panel line wash. And just work our way around the plane doing this. Now for the undercarriage, I'm going to put the main gear legs on first onto the doors. Now it suggests putting the wheels on now, but I'm not going to because I'm using the weighted wheels, so I need to know where the weighting is before I can set them. So I'll just get the main gear in and set first. While I'm waiting for the main gear to set, I'll just pop in this piece, which is the tail wheel housing. There we go. Clicks into place. And the tail wheel can just sit in the little tab there for it, like so. Then when you're ready, the gear leg goes into this peg here, and it's a very, very snug fit. Side doors go here. It's kind of difficult because there's no actual proper tab as such there. Then there's an actuator that's into a little hole there and over like that. There you go. And let that go. The bomb pylons, if you're fitting them, can go on now. They come in two halves and then they sit in the holes here. Now, sit in the holes here. Now what I would say is, so they are sided, they are handed, so make sure you put the right one on the right side. We're also going to go ahead and put these bomb shackles onto the pylons as well. The rocket launchers fit in here between the bomb rack and the undercarriage leg. The bombs come in two halves, and they just, when the two halves are glued together and painted, they can just sit on the pylon with the grips as well, supporting them. The trick is to find where the tab sits on them properly. That's the difficult bit first. And while we're putting all this stuff on, we may as well put the propeller on as well. For the fuel tank, there are these mountings that fit actually into the fuselage itself. They kind of go in there. I didn't fit them earlier because these things were prongs here, would probably break off while I was doing all the sort of various gluing and things like that. I am conscious of the weight of the bombs and the rockets, so I've just put the small 75-gallon tank on rather than the big, larger one. Sorry. Anyway, I'm not sure how historically accurate this is, that you'd have a centerline tank and rockets and 500-pound bombs, but it's my kit and that's what I'm doing. Next thing we need to do is put the 50 cal gun barrels in. Slot into these holes here. It said confidently. There we go, like that. Then when they're set, just paint them gunmetal or burnt iron. Gunmetal and maybe a bit of black on them as well. Then we've got the gun sight that slips under the front coaming here. Locks into place that little tab and then sits on the instrument panel bulkhead like so. And just use some clear PVA to hold the canopy in place. Open. So. Then put the windshield on. Just a little bit of PVA glue, don't want to go crazy. That looks pretty good, I think. So there it is, finished. All the last touch-ups of paint here and there done. Put the covers back on the wings, slightly askew, like the aircraft's being serviced. It's a lovely aircraft. It's a lovely, lovely model. The only thing I don't like about the model, and it is the only thing, are the dry transfer letters for the side. I don't know why they've used them. It's those letters and the tail numbers are the only things they supply as dry transfer. They supply the tail numbers as regular wet transfers as well. I don't know why they couldn't have put the letters in as on the wet transfer sheet. The sheet was so big anyway. I did not like the dry transfer process at all. I don't think it gives me enough control. I don't think the letters sit as well in the panel lines, for example. But hey ho, at least I've tried them, so I can say I don't like them. Other than that, this is a lovely kit to put together. The cockpit's nice. I've just done it straight out the box, so the all the instruments are as supplied. Bit of dry brushing. I think it looks really good. The only thing they've missed out on is the harness for the pilot on the seat. Other than that, everything's there. Weapons options are good. The markings are lovely. The rest of the decals, cartograph, fantastic. Everything went together really well. I can't think of anything in the whole build that I thought, oh, that's a bit rubbish, or I wish that went together better, because it just goes together. Very, very little filling needed. Yeah, I just really enjoyed building this. If you're looking for a P-47, this Academy one is an absolute gem, and I would get one. There we have it then, the Gabby Gabreski Thunderbolt. Lovely kit, terrible dry decals. I don't know why they do them. Anyway, other than that, a lovely, lovely kit to put together. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember, Imperial thumbs up on that like button below, because every like counts. And if you haven't done so yet, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and you'll be notified of all my future builds and other videos as they turn up on the channel. Thank you so very much for watching. See you soon, I hope. Take care now. Goodbye.